The Nissan Rogue is one of the most popular SUVs and vehicles in the United States every year. And it's pretty easy to understand why. It looks good, it's roomy, it's priced right. And if you spend over $40,000 on the top trim, this Platinum, you're getting a whole lot of car. Let's take a look at some of the changes for 2025. The Rogue was redesigned for the 2021 model year. For 2022, it had a very unusual engine it's still using, an inline 3-cylinder. There was a refresh for 2024 with some tech and exterior updates, and now the Rogue has a few more minor changes to keep it moving ahead. The Rogue went through a minor exterior refresh for 2024. They switched up the grille, the lower bumpers, including the back bumpers, but most of it retains the same look as it did for the last few years. It's edgy without being too trendy, and it has a really actually good look, especially on this Platinum trim with the two-tone 19-inch wheels and some of the gloss black effect you'll see around the fenders. But what I can't show you here in person is the new Rogue Rock Creek. That's a brand new trim that echoes the larger Pathfinder, and like that car, you're gonna see a new grille, red Nissan badges and tow hooks, a special blacked out grille, and all-terrain tires on dark 17-inch wheels. There's also a special off-road mode when you're driving at low speeds so you can see the cameras on at all times. But no matter which Rogue you choose, you're getting a nice-looking vehicle that's already aged very well. The semi-aniline leather on here, it's nice and soft, two tones everywhere. This Rogue feels like a smaller Infiniti. It actually looks nicer inside than Infiniti's QX50. But if you're going to spec a Rogue the proper way, get one like this. The brown leather that's diamond quilted on these seats, matching leatherette across the dash, the console, and the doors. And even the fake wood in aluminum, yes, they're not real, but they look it. And the fact that everything is put so well together here, it really is convincing me that this car costs more than it does. You're not missing out if you can't afford a Platinum trim. The lower grades of the Rogue also have really good cloth, and the dash materials are also up to par with the class. Top trims of the Rogue have third zone climate, heated outboard seats, side window shades, and a panoramic moonroof that extends really far back. And there's just tons of room no matter which trim you choose. The Rogue has a big cargo hold behind those second row seats, over 36 cubic feet, and when they're folded, 74. There's two floor panels you can remove, so you can put items underneath and stow them there, or you can lift this part up and have a nice holder for your grocery bags. The Rogue comes one way, as a front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive SUV with a 3-cylinder engine. But don't let that get you down. The numbers are very impressive. It's turbocharged, over 200 horsepower and over 220 pound-feet of torque. A continuously variable transmission is your only option that way, and fuel economy, because of all of those things, pretty decent. 34 mpg estimated highway on this trim, and if you choose the front-wheel drive Rogue, up to 37. For only 3 cylinders, there's plenty of power in the Rogue. So much more than what this engine was just a few years ago. The naturally aspirated, much bigger 4-cylinder engine. More horsepower, more torque. Not necessarily better efficiency, but I'll take the power. 3-cylinder engines are kind of coming back in vogue. Toyota has one on some of their GR Corollas. Nissan's mass marketing them in this car. Ford has done it before. GM has it on the Chevy Trax. You can watch that review. And they're surprisingly good. They're not weak. They got just enough thrust around town and on the highway. And they sound good. It's weird. It's a good weird. Nissan has tuned their CVT, the continuously variable transmission, no gears, to be pretty decent. It can mimic gears, the actual ratios when you're using the paddle shifters. So that's helpful when you want to slow down. It doesn't really help performance in any way. And there is a sport driving mode among many here on this dial on the console. And if you get the Rock Creek, you get an off-road mode, which is kind of interesting. It'll help split that all-wheel drive torque a little better to manage those rough surfaces. But really, that's just kind of a gimmick, because this is an all-wheel drive system that is constantly varying the torque split. It's not permanent, it's not part-time, so you really just don't need to touch that mode at all, unless you want to pretend like you're driving a Land Rover, which this is not. The Rogue is not very quiet at highway speeds. It's decent. I was expecting a bit more noise insulation, especially since this Rogue Platinum is approaching $50,000. But as part of this price, you're getting a true hands-free system. The hands-free version of ProPilot Assist called 2.1, that's optional on SL and Platinum, and it works pretty well, similar to Ford and GM systems. The throttle response is good. The old Rogue, the 2020 model year and older, they were just bad in every respect for on-road performance. The engines, they droned, they were loud. The steering had no on-center feel. Nissan has corrected that with every product they've made. And the Rogue has made the biggest improvement, I think. And it needed it. This chassis just feels a lot more planted. And by that, in everyday driving, you'll feel like you're more confident behind the wheel. It's certainly no performer like a BMW X3 if you're going into the luxury segment, but you're getting roughly 80% of that. I mean, it's very comfortable behind the wheel of this car. There are infinity grade technologies in here, including the ProPilot Assist, heated steering wheel, this 12-inch touchscreen. It's like you're getting a lot of luxury grade materials for a lot less money. And you don't need to spend this much on a Rogue. But I think if you're not gonna go luxury, it's like Mazda. Every time we review one of those cars, the more you're putting in it, the more value it has. And the Rogue always feels sure-footed. I like that. And the all-wheel drive system responds pretty well. We've had a lot of snow recently, and unlike certain cars that will tend to spin the tires and not react quick enough, Nissan's system, I can proudly say, works pretty well. Body control around the turns, especially harder turns, is good. And so is the brake pedal feel. For most drivers, you're gonna feel perfectly comfortable and calm behind the wheel. SL and Platinum trims have this Google OS system, a 12.3-inch touchscreen. Looks a whole lot better than the 8-inch that's standard on the other trims. Definitely worth the upgrade. You get Google Maps, Google Assistant, the Google Play Store, and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto that require a wire on all those 8-inch trims. But what you see on here, there's some new features for 2025, especially the cameras. There's a wider front angle view, you get nice side cameras, and there's also an underbody view that will attempt to render what's underneath the vehicle. Land Rover did this first, and it is very useful on the Rogue. In an off-road mode, it'll stay on while you're driving. The Rogue's instrument panel does a lot. The graphics are crisp, they look really upscale, and they don't have anything crammed in here, including the maps. If you want everything to be larger, you just switch it here right on the thumb wheel. Responds really well too. And ProPilot Assist is also very useful. 2.1, which is optional on SL and Platinum, will steer the vehicle and brake by itself. It's a hands-free system. Lower versions of the Rogue also have ProPilot Assist that has steering assist, just not the full hands-free option. That's a big deal for 2025. And if you go into the settings, everything here is very easy to use. All of this is grayed out, or most of it is when you're driving, but you have a lot of customization. So all of your systems are actually on the instrument panel as opposed to the touchscreen. But once you use this system, I think it's finding to be very, very easy. The 2025 Nissan Rogue starts at $29,000. There's 5 trims. Ours was the most expensive, the Platinum all-wheel drive with a few extra options for around $47,000. Now on every 2025 Nissan, they include 3 oil changes for 2 years or 24,000 miles. And there's plenty of competitors: the Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Subaru Forester, Mazda CX-5, Hyundai Tucson, Kia Sportage, and the Ford Escape. The Nissan Rogue continues to impress us at CarGurus because it keeps delivering, like power, way more power than a lot of competitors across every single trim. The Inline 3 is a big surprise in this segment, and all the cargo space and the levels of luxury you can option this car up to, including hands-free driving with the new ProPilot Assist. It's a game changer for Nissan and other compact SUVs, and if you don't want all these options, well, you can step down, and that's what makes the Rogue such a good value at any trim level in the compact SUV segment. For more reviews, check out CarGurus.com, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.